As you can see, when you put your ethics aside and choose selfishness, you can make yourself a decent bit of cash in no time. I'm a hero. Trouble is, blackjacking is pretty click intensive while also being sorta boring. It's a strange sensation to be dozing off while your wrist hurts. Don't take that out of context. I looked into other Ironman money-making methods, and one in particular stood out. It seemed odd that this would be effective, but I figured why not try it. Selling the runes you get from the Guardians of the Rift minigame to Ali Morrison after doing part of the Rogue Trader mini-quest. I guess there's something special about Ali's shop where he buys runes at a better rate than other shops, or his rate just doesn't decrease as fast. I don't know, but that's what's recommended. But hey, the mini-quest was quick anyway. I also did the Witch's House quest right afterwards. I don't know what my thought process was at the time. I think I was contemplating going back to Polnivnic and doing a little bit more blackjacking, and this quest would give me a little bit more health. The great thing about waiting to do this quest instead of doing it like at the start of your account is that you don't need to use the safe spot. As you can see, I didn't use the safe spot, and it's not because I couldn't figure out how to get the experiment into the right spot, I just wanted the challenge. That's the only reason. 2 HP levels, not bad. Guardians of the Rift requires that we do the quest Temple of the Eye first, and we need 10 runecrafting to start the quest. I do wonder why they went with 10 instead of 9. The Abyss mini quest is a prerequisite for the Temple of the Eye quest, and from that you get 9 runecrafting, so if the requirement were just 9, you could jump right into that quest immediately. My best guess is they wanted the player to have some sort of experience with crafting runes instead of just jumping into this minigame. If they have to train from 9 to 10, they have to go to an altar at least once or twice and understand what runecrafting is. So yeah, I guess that makes sense from a game design perspective. I answered my own question. Before we get into the quest, I'm just going to say that it was super fun and intriguing. It was basically just a tutorial for the minigame, but because most tutorials in games are boring, the old school devs decided to give this a narrative spin with little bits of RuneScape humor along the way. I really enjoyed it. It starts off with us talking to Wizard Purston, not a rogue wizard, but definitely the eccentric loner type. Chaotic neutral is probably a good alignment for her. After revealing we helped the Zamorakian wizards gain access to the rune essence mine in exchange for access to the Abyss, she asks us to take a mysterious amulet into the Abyss with us. See, the amulet is the symbol of her Order of Wizards, but it showed up thousands of miles away from the Wizard's Tower and is clearly thousands of years older than the Order itself. On top of all that, it's got traces of abyssal magic on it, and to get a better trace of its origins, we need to use a special spell on it, but it'll only work in the Abyss. We have a chat with our Zamorakian contact in Southern Varrock, his name's Herbert apparently, and he sends us off to the Abyss to speak with the Dark Mage whose concentration is preventing the Abyss from collapsing in on itself and turning everyone's brain into mush. He might be overinflating the importance of his job just because Zamorakians are hard to trust, since once they smell blood in the water they'll go after you because haha chaos. Either way, if they think he's important, they won't touch him. I love this little Easter egg right here. He gets interrupted by someone using NPC contact to repair their runecrafting pouches. That's cute. He casts a little spell and we help him play a little memory game before he writes down the details of a teleportation spell on a scroll. With a little bit of convincing and the recruitment of a handful of guinea pigs, assistants, Archmage Sedrador permits us to cast the teleportation spell in the basement of the tower, which I think is also his bedroom. Within the portal, we find ourselves in a magical pocket of dry land deep under the ocean off the coast of Mauritania. We have a vision of the Stone of Jas, a powerful artifact which, in RS3, is the egg of an elder god. In old school, the origins of this thing is a bit more up in the air, at least as far as I'm aware. Maybe some later quests explain it, and their quests I haven't done yet. Secrets of the North maybe? I don't know. What's true between both games is that this artifact was used by Zamorak during the God Wars to absolutely obliterate the land of Forenthry, which would eventually become known as the Wilderness. This is the trauma that roused Guthix and made him banish all the gods. Although that last fact, that might just be an RS3 thing. I'm not sure how fleshed out that is in old school. There ends up being a lot of overlap anyway. A lot of quests kind of converge on similar story beats. The Stone of Jas, also known as the Eye of Saradomin, used to be kept here in the Temple of the Eye, where it was used to keep this giant abyssal scar sealed. And even though the stone was removed ages ago, its power was able to keep it closed regardless. It's like the stone closed the door and locked it, but because we showed up and started screwing around with stuff, the door unlocked and the abyss flung it open. Oopsie daisy. The remainder of this quest is just a Guardians of the Rift tutorial. And there actually is a little bit of tension here, at least narrative tension, because if you screw up and you don't help this robot guy seal the rift, those abyssal creatures, they're gonna get you. Kinda adds stakes to a tutorial that you usually don't get. So we gotta help close the rift. We gather remnants from the dead guardians around the room, enter portals to the runecrafting altars, craft the remnants into runes, and return to the temple with guardian stones. We give the stones to the great guardian in the center of the room and power it up so it can use the rune altar energies to reseal the rift. But unfortunately, this power isn't enough to lock the door, only push it shut and hold it closed momentarily, and then the abyss pushes it back open again. so the minigame has an in-lore reason for needing to be repeated over and over again. I really like it. Oh, and Wizard Person got yoinked into the Abyss, like, immediately after it opened. We're told she's as good as dead, but let's be real, she's got too much personality to just be brushed off like that. I'm sure she'll be back, and she'll be some abomination fused with an abyssal creature, and she'll say something that makes us realize, oh, it's Person. Maybe Old School will get the Hostilius raid. The corpse of the most bloated. The entire raid can be on and within his body. We go from his mouth to his butthole. Why did I say that? The quest alone gets you to 27 runecrafting, so that's nice. But the minigame, oh boy. This minigame has no right being as fun as it is. I have no idea what makes it so engaging. All you do is mine guardian parts, craft them into essence, craft the runes, and then give the guardian the catalytic or elemental guardian stones. You can heal the barriers as well with the power cells you charge from crafting runes, but you don't get anything for it if you use it on a fully charged barrier except for a few amount of points, so it feels like a time waste sometimes. Or you could use them to make guardians, but you can only have up to 10 at a time, and since there's 200 people playing the game, there's likely going to be 10 up at any one time, so you can't really use it there. It doesn't matter though, the game's still fun. I won't detail every aspect of the minigame because this isn't a guide, and I don't think a guide will really help you figure out the best way to optimize each game. A big part of it, at least for me, is trying to time the creation of essence against the appearance of the portal to the large guardian corpses. Mining those bodies gives already crafted essence, so you can quickly get a full inventory of essence and make runes shortly after mining. The portal stays open for about 20 to 30 seconds, so you typically want to be ready with an empty inventory just around when it spawns. It's always frustrating when you have to jump in the portal with a half full inventory. Feels like you're missing out. Or you have like an almost full inventory, so you're like, okay, if I quickly go right now, I can go craft these runes and then run back and jump in the portal and get more essence, but then you miss the portal by like 2 seconds. That's where some of the strategy lies, is just trying to figure out the timing. After playing a bit, you'll get a hang of the portal spawn times. I don't think it's on an exact timer, but it seems to show up around every 20% power the Guardian gets, give or take 5%. If there were a guaranteed spawn time, I'm sure the RuneLite plugin would have a timer running, but it doesn't have one, so there probably isn't one. And if there is a specific timing, let me know. So I did a few games, not really sure how the scoring worked or why I was getting so few points, but the XP was good, so I kept going with it. 54 runecrafting I thought would be amazing. Free law runes ain't something I'd want to turn down. And this XP was way better than Abyss crafting, especially considering the whole run energy thing. Is Abyssal runecrafting really even feasible without stamina potions? I was confused about the rune amount though. Sure, I was making a decent number of runes during the minigame, but how could this really be a moneymaker? Well, after a few rounds, I went to collect my loot from the reward golem thing outside the game room, and that's a lot of runes, considering how simple it was to get them. 120 natures, 32 laws, and 275 chaos runes from what I think was like, 9 or 10 helpings of loot? I also got a large pouch from the golem, and it made me realize I could probably use pouches during the minigame. So I tried, and yeah, I absolutely could. I don't know why I assumed you couldn't. It's totally reasonable to assume that you could, but I just didn't. Fortunately, I didn't lose out on very much since the small pouches don't really hold that much essence. The 2 smallest ones hold 9 between each other and take up 2 inventory spaces, so an extra 7 essence. It would have been a little bit better, but I didn't really have to do that many games without them anyway. What I didn't expect at all was how good this minigame is for mining and crafting XP, at least at low levels. Every successful mining swing is 5 mining XP, and every crafted essence is 5 crafting XP. Not a ton, but at this low of a level, it's great, and you don't need any resources to put into it. And since the mining doesn't actually fill your inventory, it's a stackable resource, you could, I guess, leech a game and not actually play the game and just sit there and mine. I guarantee some people do that. I would not be surprised. I didn't see anyone doing that, but I was mostly playing with the entity hider on because there are a lot of people running around and it makes the game kind of laggy. There's a Sid Meier's civilization effect going on here. You ever play Civ? Just one more turn, then all of a sudden it's 3 in the morning. After the games, when I'm ready to, go do something else, I'd look at my points and I'd have 12 catalytic points and 14 elemental points. So I'd say, I'll just do one more game and I'll get 2 extra catalytic points so that I'll have an even amount and I can get all the loot afterwards. But then it's uneven again and again and again. Then you get maybe like 18 and 18 and you say, I'll just get up to 20. But you end up getting to like 23 and 22. So it's like, I'll get to 25. And you just keep doing that over and over again. But I did manage to break out of that loop. So here's 21 loot rolls. I guess that's what you call them. Look at all those lovely runes. I don't know how much these would sell to Ali Morrisane for, but I don't care. I just kind of want to keep them. The broken rune pouches are a problem. Normally you'd be crafting runes in the Abyss so you could just pop by the Dark Mage and he'd fix them for you real quick. Well, actually you'd enter the Abyss and by habit run to the altar portal and forget to fix your pouches, and that probably happened like 2 or 3 times before you actually talk to the mage. But ideally you get them fixed immediately. There's NPC contact on the Lunar Spellbook, but I don't have 67 magic, nor do I have lunar spells unlocked yet, so that's not an option right now. You can give Apprentice Cordelia a one-time payment of 25 Abyssal Pearls, and she'll repair your pouches at a rate of 1 pearl per repair. I assume it's not 1 pearl per pouch, but rather 1 pearl for 1 spell that fixes all of your pouches. But that seems like a waste of pearls, you know? Especially considering how amazing all the other rewards you could buy are. The Abyssal Pearls are a currency for Apprentice Felix's shop. The Ludo narrative here, can you tell I recently learned about this concept, isn't dissonant. A dissonant Ludo narrative is one where the gameplay and the story kind of conflict with each other. But in this case, the temple needs people to help seal the rift, but because people tend not to do anything just for the sake of saving the world, the wizards figured they'd incentivize helping by selling useful items for the Abyssal Pearls helpers collect. Felix tells us that Cedrador wants pearls for research anyway, so by selling equipment for the pearls, he solves both problems. It's always a treat when gameplay and story explanation just merge perfectly. The Raymonds are amazing, I think. They seem really good when I read about their effect, but they're pretty expensive. It's 1350 pearls for the whole set, and the wiki says you should have that many by about 180 games, or about 600 searches of the Reward Guardian. There are 4 pieces of the outfit, each increasing the amount of runes you craft by 10%, with an extra 20% if you're wearing the full set for a maximum of 60% more runes. This significantly affects the runecrafting level required for several achievement diaries. For example, you need 88 runecrafting to craft 252 air runes in one go for the Elite Falador diary. But with 4 pieces of the outfit, you're guaranteed to craft more than enough at just level 55. With 3 pieces, you only need level 66. With only 2 pieces, you need level 77. Although you'd probably be over level 70 by the time you get enough pearls to buy the Raymonds anyway. But I'm sure one of the roadblocks for several achievement diaries is the runecrafting requirement, and now that's less of a problem. But to be honest, the minigame is fun enough that I don't think I'd mind having to get a high runecrafting level. Although you can come back and ask me how I feel about the minigame when I'm stuck here for 100 hours. Talismans are such troll loot. Surely there's no loot more trolly than talismans. There couldn't be. No way. Nah. Beyond the Raymonds, the pet recoloring item, and the talismans, you can also spend Abyssal Pearls on a Ring of the Elements. It lets you teleport near every elemental runecrafting altar. At first, I heard about this and I thought it was ridiculously overpowered. How the hell could something like this pass a poll? Then I saw where it teleported you, and it's still kind of distant from the altar, so it's not as good as I was thinking. In fact, I think the meta methods for getting to the fire or earth altar are still superior. Dueling Ring or Lumberyard Teleport. I think I'd still rather get this than the pet item, especially since it's cheaper and it has, an actual use. I was never really too excited about pet cosmetics anyway, so we'll get that after the outfit. What I'd really be excited about getting is an Abyssal Needle. At 85 runecrafting, you can combine all your runecrafting pouches into one colossal pouch that holds a total of 40 essence. It's a 1 in 300 drop rate, so it's pretty rare, but by the time I get 85 runecrafting, I'll probably have already looted the thing over 300 times anyway. If this is the only way I'm getting runecrafting experience, I'd be surprised if I didn't get it by 85. I shouldn't have said that. But that's what I really like about this minigame. The next level of progression always feels attainable. As you level up, you unlock new pouches, new runes to craft, a greater amount of multiple runes, and all these unlocks increase your XP and point rate within the game. So there's always a feeling of improvement. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I can actually see 99 runecrafting being something I could do. Prior to this update, runecrafting in old school was just that one skill you need to get to 50 for a quest cape. I think it's 55 now, I don't know. But this was a Tears of Gothic skill. Now, it's not too bad. It's gotta be how the loot is delivered. It's like Temporos. It's a slow drip of dopamine after a long session of edging closer and closer to a loot potential goal. I think it'd be really disappointing if it just dropped an entire load on you all at once. There's also the Abyssal Lantern, and I wonder how significant it is. You can add different logs to it for different effects that help you during Rift games. For instance, Oak has a 5% chance to double your contribution points, and it increases your point cap by 5%. Willow increases the number of runes you craft by 5%. Redwoods prevent your there are redwood trees in Old School RuneScape. If you play RS3 and you don't know, there are redwoods in Old School RuneScape. Redwoods prevent your pouches from degrading and apply the oak and willow effects. Redwood's probably the best effect, but you need like 90 woodcutting to get redwoods, so it's kinda tough on an Ironman, I assume, but it's probably something definitely worth it. You and Magic have these same effects as oak and willow, but it's stronger, 10% rather than 5%. Now that I'm thinking about it and really having a good look at these rewards, I think the first unique I'd really want is the Catalytic Talisman. It's like the Elemental Talisman, but for catalytic runes, hence the name. If you're not sure what a catalytic rune is, it's every rune that isn't an earth, fire, water, or air rune. It's pretty much every rune. So why do I want it? Well, you see, it can act as a death talisman, but you don't need to do Morning's End Part 2 before you can get one. Mains can just buy a death talisman for that quest, but Ironmen have to collect those 50 random items for that dwarf in exchange for a death talisman. With the catalytic talisman, you don't have to bother. You can just go right into the altar and tell the dwarf to piss off. He can get his own random bullshit. Archery tickets. Why do you need archery tickets, you goddamn dwarf? That's 54 Runecrafting. It's funny, every time I found myself wanting to leave, I kept getting a new reason to stay. 44 Runecrafting? That's nature runes. 50 Runecrafting? That's a new pouch. 54 Runecrafting? That's law runes. But I decided to call it there for now. Here's the rough loot from what I want to say is 50 searches of the Guardian, about 30 or so games. Quite a lot of nature runes. I'll definitely be using those to superheat stuff, get magic and smithing XP. The law runes, those will be great for questing, and the chaos runes, oh man, that's a lot of firebolts. I wonder what the most economical combat spell is for Ironman. The one with the highest damage to GP ratio. Firebolt with the Chaos Gauntlets might be up there, actually. If anyone's crunched the numbers, let me know. So, Guardians of the Rift, 9 out of 10. Would be 10 out of 10 if you didn't have to compete with other players to get XP from your energy cells. But that's a minor complaint, maybe a 9.5 out of 10. Next time, back to working on Barrow's Gloves.